So I absolutely hate doing things that don't have multiple values. I like to multitask. I like to do a lot of things at once. When my mentor said to me, you should be reading guidelines, you should be scheduling a little bit of time each day or each week to read guidelines, I thought, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. But what I could do is listen to guidelines while I'm working. While I'm working on other things, I love to keep in my earbuds and listen to books on audiobooks or listen to podcasts. And so I thought, oh, there should be a podcast about guidelines, a podcast where people are just going through guidelines. Well, I didn't find it. I don't know if that exists. So I thought, well, if I'm going to read guidelines, I might as well read them while I'm read them out loud. So share them with others. And so I can, build a audience of guideline readers. This is going to be, if you need to sleep at night, this might be the thing to do. All right. So this one, let's look at the top trending questions, frequently asked questions. How do I calculate the 20% liquidity threshold for vested assets? How do I, let me read that question again. Top trending questions. How do I calculate the 20% liquidation threshold for vested assets? Vested assets in the forms of stocks, government bonds, and mutual funds are acceptable sources of funds for the down payment, closing costs, and reserves, provided their value can be verified. The lender must verify the borrower's ownership of the account or asset. The value of the asset and any related documentation must meet the requirements outlined in stocks, stock options, bonds, and mutual funds. When used for the down payment or closing costs, if the value of the asset is at least 20% more than the amount of funds needed for the down payment and closing cost, no documentation of the borrower's actual receipt of funds realized from the sale or liquidation is required. Otherwise, evidence of the borrower's actual receipt of funds realized from the sale or liquidation must be documented. 100% of the value of assets may be considered, and liquidation is not required when used for reserves. Okay, so let's talk about this. You need to come up with, your cash to close is $19,000, and you have an asset, you have a maybe it's a mutual fund that has a value of $22,000. Well, since that's not, let's see, $19,000 is what you need. 20% additional to that would be around $3,800. And you're at 20, so you don't quite have $3,800. Therefore, you have to show an actual receipt of funds realized from the sale or liquidation. What's the reasoning for this? I suspect that the reasoning for this is because when you cash these things out, there may be some tax penalties. Some things allow you to cash out for a down payment on a house for principal residence, but I'm guessing that's what this has to do with. So I guess the other question you might want to ask is, if you're showing, let's say you've got $100,000 in mutual funds and you need $19,000, then you don't even have to show where you cashed out that or liquidated that money. I guess if you don't have to show it, and you could pull it from 3 other checking accounts or savings accounts that you just didn't want to have to go through all the hassle of showing, I guess you could even use different funds for closing. I don't know the answer to that, but as I'm reading the guidelines, I'm just thinking out loud. And so there's my thoughts. Would love to hear your thoughts. You're welcome to message me or hit me in the comments here, or do another video in response. Love to hear from you. I'm Josh with Churchill Mortgage. I'm always looking for great mortgage lenders in North Carolina. So if you'd like to talk to me, work with me, Churchill's a great organization. There's only 2 branches there's only technically 1 branch in North Carolina of Churchill Mortgage, and Churchill Mortgage is the lender that Dave Ramsey has recommended for years. There are lots of great reasons to work with Churchill Mortgage. Churchill Mortgage is is an ESOP. In other words, and it's an employee stock ownership program. We own the company. So if you're interested in working with me in Churchill, reach out to me anytime. I feel like we're very competitive on rates. We win a lot of times in jumbo situations. We have so many different things to offer. Love to talk to you.